So, you're a girl on the first date with a guy and it's going pretty well. He's cute, nice, chivalrous, and he even offered to pay. And at the end of it, he looks at you and he says, "You know, you're not like other girls. Ick." At least if you're like me, it brings me back to middle school when I was trying my best to appeal to the male gaze. And I was not alone in trying very hard to avoid my femininity and show myself off as one of the guys. I basically wore a neon sign saying, "Hey guys, look at me. I play video games and sports and I don't eat salads. I don't wear skirts, I wear hoodies and sweatpants because I'm super chill and I hate the color pink."
But she wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts.
You get the point. Why did we ever think that this was a compliment? The fact is that some people still don't realize that it's not. "You're not like other girls" is a statement that has evolved many times and has perpetuated generations because so many people don't realize the backhandedness of this supposed compliment. The phrase implies that other girls are something that you shouldn't be like, but what's wrong with other girls? Let's go back to the time I remember this compliment being the most prominent. Middle school. For me, started as a meme. Memes like these and many others taught me at a young age that being girly and feminine were things that I should avoid. I even found one in French, so clearly it's not even just an American concept. Je ne suis pas comme les autres filles. Don't kill me on my pronunciation. And hey, I was a smart kid, but I was being taught that I couldn't be viewed as intelligent while also being pretty and girly and feminine. The things I was allowed to do and not allowed to do were set up for me. Bad things included wearing too much makeup, skirts, dresses, showing too much skin, the color pink. While good things were video games, sports, anime, science. Hopefully by now you're noticing a trend. This meme and the compliment itself perpetuate the classic societal view that femininity is bad and masculinity is good. But there's a line. A girl can't be too masculine because then she gains independence, which is apparently also a masculine trait. She has to like video games, but she also has to cook and clean. She should like science and school, but she can't make more money than a man. She has to watch anime, but she can't be involved in any discussions because she's just a girl. She won't get it. Women are constantly being told that they can't be in these spaces because they're for men. But then, what's the point of "you're not like other girls" being a compliment if men don't actually want women in these spaces? Well, it's because men want to keep women in a controllable place where they're constantly trying to please men. The idea that femininity is bad exists in a lot of different forms, not just in little girls learning that they are inherently bad for being born a girl. Have you ever met a man that is perfectly okay with lesbians, but is a little bit weird about the concept of gay men? This is because men can understand why a woman could like other women, because he likes other women. Liking women is considered a masculine trait, despite the fact that not all lesbians are masculine. In fact, hyperfemininity is commonly a queer form of expression. In the same vein, though, men also like feminine lesbians because then he can fetishize them, because lesbian fetishization is a, unfortunately, very common thing. Now he's thinking, oh, this is a woman who likes other women, but is still trying to please me as a man, which is insane, obviously. On the other hand, he can't relate to gay men because he doesn't like other men, and he can't fathom the idea that any man would want to be viewed as feminine. A flamboyant gay man is essentially the opposite of what a traditional masculine man would want to be. You know, secure enough in their male identity that they can show off feminine traits. You didn't hear that from me. And the same can also go for transphobes. If you go on Instagram or TikTok, you're gonna find a lot more hate for trans women than you are for trans men. It's for the same reasons. It's because these people view trans women as men making the decision to be viewed as a woman, and they can't fathom why anyone would want to be viewed as a woman. In case it wasn't clear, being trans is definitely not a choice, and it is part of you, but that's how these people think. Back to the problem at hand, though. Through memes like these becoming the societal norm, we're teaching women to isolate themselves. A woman's enemy is other women. So instead of working together, they should isolate themselves from other girls and instead be one of the guys. Other quotes often get thrown out in this community, like "girls are just too much drama," "girls are just attention seekers," to further imply that girls are a concept that needs to be avoided. This results in women putting other women down for the sake of performative misogyny. Girls end up assuming that their girly feminine counterparts are less valuable socially than themselves or other men. They end up assuming the same things I was taught through these memes as a kid. Feminine people can't possibly have traditionally masculine hobbies or interests. Basically, pretty girls can't play video games, and if they do, they're only doing it to impress men and get male attention. Of course they can't play video games. They spend so much time doing their hair and makeup and talking about boys. If you want a good example of this stereotype, watch like any early 2000s teen movie and look at the popular girls. And of course, this stereotype isn't reality. The reality is that women aren't stupid. Eventually they start picking up on this catch-22 when they realize that they're towing the line between being masculine enough to be respected and feminine enough to still be desirable. They realize that putting down other women doesn't raise them up. It's just bullying. So, we grow out of this phase. For me, that meant finally wearing makeup and giving up on why anyone likes soccer or golf. But at the same time, I kept my enjoyment of playing video games and aspiring for higher education, which, yes, is apparently masculine now. It's actually always been masculine. That's why colleges used to be mostly just for men. All that is great and all, but the fact is that not everyone moves out of this phase. They just think that they do because they moved into something else, which is actually the same thing, just with a different name. If we look at the bigger picture, women are often placed into two boxes, the masculine one and the feminine one. But the names of these boxes change based on age and trend. It's not like other girls versus the preppy attention seekers, which is what it was when I was in middle school, so like early 2010s. When I was in high school, in the later 2010s, masculine girls were called bruh girls, and the feminine ones were visco girls. Masculine girls are just one of the guys, while feminine girls are bimbos. All of these are pretty modern terms for these stereotypes, but it also goes way beyond that. Society has always had women trying to separate themselves from femininity. In the 50s, they were greasers. In the 80s, they were grunge. And for a long time before that, they were just simply called unladylike. It's actually kind of funny, because in my research of trying to figure out how long Not Like Other Girls has been around, I found an interesting switch in perspective. So here's a quick history lesson. The earliest form of feminism was a class struggle. Then later it became about equal rights in the social sphere. In the 60s, women took objects that represented male oppression and threw them into the trash cans at pageants as a form of protest. This included things like bras, girdles, high heels, and makeup, all traditionally feminine products. They abandoned femininity because it equaled oppression. Not too much later, though, in the 90s, there was a switch, and women quickly reclaimed their femininity. Feminists, especially the younger ones, wore low-cut tops and bright lipsticks. They were attempting to break the boundaries that sex and gender had placed on them in both directions. This is when feminism became about choice. It also resulted in a lot of people not wanting to identify with the word feminist, because it had previously been a box that they were stuck in. To be clear, being a feminist is simply believing that everyone should have equal rights that do not vary based on someone's gender. If you believe in that sentiment, congrats, you're a feminist. The movement became about choice, and the women who are still using Not Like Other Girls have forgotten about that aspect of it. It almost seems like they're still stuck in the 60s. They can't be feminine and a feminist at the same time, so they pick one. The reality is that being feminine is just a choice that anyone can make, and it doesn't make them a lesser person because of it. So, women think that they can't be feminine if they want to be taken seriously. This trope is even commonly portrayed in media, similarly to the manic pixie dream girl trope. Heads up, the next few minutes are going to be about the manic pixie dream girl trope, which honestly could be a whole nother video, but it's not going to be. Basically, to simplify this trope, the manic pixie dream girl is a female character that stands out from a crowd because she's different from anyone that the male main character has ever met. She shows up during this time of hardship, changes his perspective, and then leaves. The reality is that there is nothing particularly special about this character based on her personality. It's all surface level views based on how she's being perceived rather than who she actually is. So these characters end up kind of being blank. If you Google Manic Pixie Dream Girl, the most common character that comes up is Ramona Flowers. Ramona Flowers is the Manic Pixie Dream Girl of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And to clarify before we get into it, I love this movie, so leave me alone. I love this movie, but I can also recognize that Ramona could have been a much cooler character. She shows up and is immediately interesting to Scott because of her hair and her clothes being a little bit unusual, as well as the fact that she literally shows up in his dreams, a third of the way to Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Not only that, but when he asks about her, he's immediately told that she's a little hardcore, and a bunch of people at the party take turns talking about her. The girls focused on her being intense, having a boyfriend, and being attractive to men, while the boys compliment her by saying that she's on another level and has battle scars. Then throughout the movie, she proceeds to have a very blank personality that Scott projects on because we're viewing the movie from Scott's perspective. At the beginning of the movie, Scott is this kind of boring guy with a high school-aged girlfriend and a track record of bad relationships. In the middle, he's working on himself because of Ramona. She's so cool that he needs to go through all of these trials. Then finally, when he's improved himself and is becoming self-confident and more interesting, Ramona leaves. Her work as a Manic Pixie Dream Girl is done because she has improved the male main character's life. Like I said, I really like this movie, and I'm skipping over quite a bit of it, but the core of the problem is still present. Ramona isn't a super deep character, she's just perceived that way because she isn't actively trying to appeal to men. Her rejection of modern femininity and normality makes her quirky and fun and weird, but there really is no substance beyond that. I left a link to a really great article that has examples of manic pixie dream girls from other movies, and I really recommend reading it because I don't want to just repeat everything that the author wrote. The idea behind the manic pixie dream girl is that she's a girl who literally can't exist because she's such a blank canvas. But an unfortunate common takeaway is the idea that women are just objects to improve upon men. The truth is that there is no woman in real life that is only there to make other people improve. So many girls grow up thinking that this is what they have to be because that's what's cool and mysterious, but in reality, it's just misogynistic. Men write these women this way because that's what they want, so why wouldn't you want to appease them? Obviously, because women don't exist to just be a love interest in a man's life. Women are more than just plot development. Mocha has joined us, if you haven't noticed. But why does any of this matter? Little girls grow up and realize they don't exist to just please men, and they move on, so why is it a problem? It's a problem because it prevents change in our system. The not like other girls phrase has resulted from our system's sexism and misogyny becoming internalized sexism and misogyny. Sometimes the acceptance that femininity doesn't mean bad does not result in the acceptance that they don't need to exist for men. If you've ever heard of a pick-me or even the concept of the girl best friend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The pendulum swings to the other side and women become feminine, but they're still living their life around men. These women are usually anti-feminist and believe that men should be the provider while all she's good for is cooking, cleaning, and having babies. This is of course the opposite of the feminist ideas I mentioned about women having the choice to do what they want with their life, be it becoming a housewife or a CEO. Because yes, being a housewife is still a feminist choice, as long as you understand the idea that not all women want to be housewives. Now this all might seem like a crazy jump. How on earth did we get from a little meme I saw when I was 12 to politics that will affect women on a daily basis? Well, if we teach women that being quote-unquote girly is bad, then of course we're perpetuating internalized misogyny that results in these political ideals. To be clear, I don't think the origins of this phrase were specifically intended to perpetuate sexism, but the fact is that it does. What's so wrong with other girls that we shouldn't be like them? If you're still struggling to pick up on why it's such a bad thing to say, think about it this way. Would a man ever feel complimented by being told that he's not like other men? Of course they wouldn't. They would feel emasculated and like a lesser person because they respect other men. They don't respect women though, so if you're not like other girls, you've earned their respect. It just doesn't make sense. All people are deserving of a base level of respect that can be changed based on actions, not on things like appearances and hobbies and gender. The backhanded compliment of being told you're not like other girls implies this power dynamic of respect between the person saying it and women as a whole. We should be teaching young women to be empowered by being themselves, no matter how feminine or masculine they want to express themselves. But since we don't, we have less women in business and economics and physics and chemistry and engineering, and you get the idea. Can you imagine discounting half of the population based on a factor that they didn't get to choose? It'd be similar to saying, oh, you can't be a doctor because you're a brunette. Only blondes and redheads are allowed to be doctors. If we start encouraging women into these spaces, we can double the possibility of there being a breakthrough in any of these fields. It's insane to me that an uncontrollable factor of our lives affects so much of society and the world. But we're losing the plot of the video. The point of all of this is that we need to be more mindful of what we're unintentionally teaching the next generations. If we keep pushing the same ideas and problems of our society, we will never move forward. Unless we learn and improve ourselves and our habits, history is doomed to repeat itself. There are so many things that we say to children that we think are harmless, but they're not. The axe forgets what the tree remembers. So what do? We learn. And then we can finally start moving forward. It's already started in the evolution of these memes, where girlhood is ever present, and being a girl's girl is so much cooler than being one of the guys. It's really satisfying to see these changes happen in real time. Plus, on a whole, women supporting women is kind of awesome. So yeah, maybe I am like other girls, because other girls are really cool, and there is nothing wrong with being feminine. I mean, I myself am not like other girls, but that's not in a sexist way, that's, I'm just gonna leave this here. Happy Pride Month! Big thanks to the sources down below. I'm also probably gonna leave some links to creators that I found TikToks from that fit the vibe of the video. There was also already a YouTube video about the not like other girls concept that I did see in my research, but I did not watch because I didn't want my essay to be affected by their perspective. So I'll probably leave that below too, just as an extra thing of, yes, I did see that. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. More video essays coming soon, hopefully. Happy Pride Month.